Your hand is reaching for your phone. You've unlocked it before you even realize what you're doing. The screen glows, your thumb scrolls, and somewhere deep in your skull, a tiny spark, just one. It took less than 10 seconds. That spark, that craving, that pull towards something you know you shouldn't do right now, it already peaked. It's already fading, but you didn't know that. So you gave in, and now you're 45 minutes deep into something you never meant to start. What if you could have caught that spark before it caught you? What if there was a way to train your brain to hold still during those 10 seconds, to let the fire burn out on its own? Turns out, there is. And the blueprint is older than you'd ever guess. Somewhere around 2,000 years ago, a man walked into a desert and didn't eat for 40 days. He wasn't just starving, he was rewiring. He was building something inside his mind that most of us never build. A wall between desire and action. And when the moment came, when the urge hit its peak, he didn't flinch. He spoke a single line from an old scroll, and the craving shrank. But to understand why that worked, and why it still works, we need to go back to the craving itself. What actually happens inside your body during those few seconds? Think of the last time you walked past a bakery. The smell hit you. Warm bread, maybe cinnamon. Your mouth watered. Your feet slowed. Every cell in your body said yes. That entire wave, from the first whiff to the strongest pull, crested in about 10 seconds. Not 10 minutes, not an hour. 10 seconds. Researchers who study drug and food cravings in labs found this pattern again and again. The urge spikes almost instantly, like a match striking. Then it starts to fade. Within 2 or 3 minutes, the intensity drops by half. Within 5, most people can barely remember what the fuss was about. This changes everything. Because most of us walk through life believing that cravings build slowly, that they gather strength over time, that resisting means white-knuckling through hours of agony. That belief is wrong. The battle isn't long, it's fast. And if you lose in the opening seconds. So why do we lose so often? Because our brains are wired for speed. The part of your brain that screams, "Oh, grab it now," fires faster than the part that whispers, "Maybe wait." By the time your slower, wiser brain catches up, your hand is already moving. The cookie is already in your mouth. The app is already open. But here's what's strange. That slower, wiser part of your brain can be trained. It can be made faster, stronger, louder. And one of the oldest methods for doing that looks nothing like modern self-help. It looks like hunger. When you fast, when you deliberately go without food for an extended stretch, something shifts inside your skull. Your body, sensing scarcity, starts producing more of a protein that strengthens the connections between brain cells. Think of it as fertilizer for your self-control circuits. After a 48-hour fast, levels of this protein jumped by more than a third in lab studies. At the same time, the part of your brain responsible for stopping impulses, the region right behind your forehead, starts working harder. Brain scans show it lighting up brighter after extended fasting, running hotter, like an engine that's been tuned. This is what happened in the desert. 40 days without food wasn't just a spiritual test. It was biological preparation. The hunger itself was building the very mental muscle needed to resist what came next. Now, you might push back here. You might say fasting sounds extreme, maybe even reckless. And you'd have a point. Most of us aren't going 40 days without eating. But the research doesn't require that. Even shorter windows of going without food, the kind people already practice for health reasons, produce similar effects. The principle holds. Controlled scarcity sharpens the mind. But fasting alone doesn't explain the full picture. Because when the moment of temptation arrived in the desert, the response wasn't silence. It wasn't gritting teeth. It was words. Specific words, pulled from memory, spoken out loud. Man shall not live by bread alone. Why would quoting an old text do anything against a craving? This is where it gets surprising. When you reframe a desire, when you wrap it in meaning instead of just fighting it, your brain processes it differently. Instead of treating the craving as a threat to be wrestled, your mind treats it as a question to be answered. The urge shifts from "pranuns, I need this," to "unders, what does this mean to me?" And that shift, that reframe, engages a different network in your brain, one tied to your values, your identity, your sense of who you want to be. Researchers tested this directly. They gave people strong cravings and then asked some of them to recite meaningful passages, while others just tried to distract themselves. Distraction helped a little, but the people who reframed the craving through meaningful words saw their urge intensity drop by close to 40%. That's not a small difference. That's the gap between giving in and holding firm. The common assumption is that distraction is the best tool against temptation. See a cookie, think about something else. Feel the pull of your phone, go for a walk. And distraction does work, briefly. But it doesn't change how you relate to the craving. The craving comes back, just as strong, the next time the trigger appears. Reframing, on the other hand, rewires the pattern. It teaches your brain that this desire is temporary, testable, and not aligned with what you actually care about. Now, there's a fair objection here. Not everyone connects with Scripture. Not everyone prays. And that's worth sitting with. Critics have pointed out that faith-based methods aren't universal, and they're right. But the mechanism underneath, cognitive reframing through deeply held values, doesn't require any specific tradition. A personal mantra works. A commitment statement works. What matters is that the words carry weight for you, that they connect to something you care about more than the craving in front of you. The shell can change. The engine stays the same. But even with a trained brain and a powerful reframe, there's still the problem of speed. Cravings peak in seconds. Your reframe takes time to reach. How do you buy that time? You pause. That's it. You stop moving for 10 seconds. This sounds almost too simple. And yet, when researchers asked people to wait just 10 seconds before acting on an impulse, submission rates dropped by more than a third. 10 seconds. Not meditation, not therapy, not a week of journaling. A pause so short you could count it on your fingers. Here's why it works. When a craving fires, it hijacks your automatic response system. Your body starts acting before your conscious mind catches up. But if you insert a gap, even a tiny one, you break that chain. You give your slower, wiser brain just enough time to step in. The impulse doesn't disappear, but it loses its grip. You go from puppet to pilot. One study applied this to phone use. Participants were given a 12-second delay before their phone would unlock. That's it, a 12-second wait screen. Phone checking dropped by nearly half. The craving was still there, but the pause gave people a moment to ask themselves, do I actually want this right now? And most of the time, the honest answer was no. So now we have 3 layers. Fasting trains the brain. Reframing weakens the urge. Pausing breaks the automatic chain. But there's a 4th layer that most people overlook, and it might be the most powerful of all. It's not about what happens inside your head. It's about what happens around you. Think about this. You open a cabinet and there's a bag of chips staring right at you. How often do you close the door without grabbing some? Now think about a cabinet with frosted glass, where you can't see what's inside. Researchers tested exactly this. When snacks were hidden behind opaque doors, people ate almost half as much. Not because they had more willpower, not because they recited a mantra, because the trigger was gone. Their brain never fired the craving in the first place. This is the part that humbles us. We like to think willpower is about inner strength. We tell ourselves that tough people resist temptation through sheer force of character. But the data tells a different story. The people who resist temptation best aren't the ones who fight hardest. They're the ones who set up their world so they rarely have to fight at all. Move the candy jar from your desk to a drawer. Put your phone in another room. Delete the app from your home screen. Each of these small changes removes a cue that would have triggered a craving that you'd then have to spend energy fighting. It's not weakness to reshape your environment. It's strategy. But even the best-designed environment has gaps. You can't control every cue. You can't hide every trigger. And on the days when the craving slips through, When the pause isn't enough and the reframe doesn't land, there's one more layer. Someone else, having a partner, just one person who checks in with you, who asks how it's going, who knows what you're working on, changes the math completely. Weekly accountability calls in one study doubled the rate at which people stuck to their goals. Doubled it, from roughly 1 in 4 to nearly 1 in 2. Why? Because knowing someone will ask about your progress tomorrow changes what you do today. The craving is still private, but the consequence of giving in becomes social. You're no longer just letting yourself down. You're breaking a promise to someone who cares. That weight, that gentle pressure, is often the difference between holding and folding. There's something worth noting here, though. This approach only works when the relationship is genuine. An accountability bot, a tracking app that pings you with reminders. It helps, but it doesn't carry the same force. The power comes from being seen by another person, from knowing that your struggle is witnessed and your effort is valued. Technology can support this, but it can't replace it. So here's what we're looking at. 5 layers, each one targeting a different link in the chain. Fasting trains the brain before the battle starts. Reframing weakens the urge when it arrives. Pausing breaks the automatic reaction. Environment design prevents the trigger from firing. And accountability catches you when everything else fails. Each of these works on its own, but the real shift happens when you stack them. Researchers who studied combined approaches found that layered strategies don't just add up, they multiply. People using multiple tactics at once saw their self-control scores jump by close to half, far beyond what any single method predicted. Think of it like armor. A helmet protects your head. A shield protects your chest. Leg guards protect your shins. Each piece helps. But when you wear them all, you're not just a little safer. You're in a different category. The craving doesn't just weaken. It arrives and finds nothing exposed. But here's the nuance. This layered approach works best when the temptation is cue-driven, when there's a trigger you can identify and a pattern you can interrupt. Some cravings aren't like that. Grief eating, stress spending, the kind of desire that rises not from a cookie on a shelf, but from a hole inside you. For those, environment design and pauses help, but they're not the whole answer. The deeper work, the kind that addresses what the craving is trying to fill, that requires a different set of tools. Therapy. Community. Meaning, the 5 layers are powerful, but they're not a cure for pain. Knowing that boundary makes the framework honest instead of just hopeful. If this story shifted something in how you think about temptation, the next one goes even deeper. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if someone you know is fighting a craving right now, send them this. It might be the pause they need. The craving is still there. It's always going to be there. But now you know something it doesn't. It peaks in 10 seconds, and you have 5 ways to outlast it.